I'm Chris from Make Everything, and today we're making a milling bar for a chainsaw. So I started out by sketching it out. I wanted an 8-inch material to grab the bar, and I wanted a 12-inch deck that would slide across the log and act as, sort of the main milling surface. And I wanted it to be the max width I could, so it was just 26 inches wide. It's a very basic design with side rails. So I had some 1-inch material left over from another project. This is 1x1 and then 1.5 by 1.5 inches. And then that's some 1/4-inch flat stock on the side. Cutting the material to length with a portable bandsaw. I noticed that my blade was super dull, so right after this cut I swapped the blade, which makes a huge difference. So I'm cutting 26-inch pieces for the sides and then 12-inch pieces for the shorter lengths. And I'll assemble it all into a rectangle and weld it up. The 1x1 is 16th wall. It's a little thin. It could definitely be heavier gauge, but the saw is already so heavy and it's steel, so it's not really going to flex. I've seen guys make them out of 1/8-inch wall, but I think the 16th is fine. I'm just deburring all the edges. The nice thing about this welding table is that it's nice and flat. I know that if I weld down onto it, it's going to stay nice and flat and parallel. I'm just checking the corners to make sure it's square and that the sides are even. And I tack everything before I fully weld it, which keeps it from flexing. I'll be the first to say that I'm not a great welder, but I can join two pieces of metal together, and for an application like this, that's all that's important. I was having trouble with my feed, my wire feed, and I kept getting jammed. I gotta figure out what's wrong with my rollers. And I use a Miller AutoSet 212. It's a great welder. Here I'm just putting a center bar in that rectangular guide plate just to give it a little bit more support and make it so that it doesn't twist. Now, there's a lot of pressure on this thing and there's a lot of weight on the bar, so having that little extra support definitely doesn't hurt. 1x1 material is generally pretty inexpensive. I think I pay about $20 for a 20-foot length, maybe less, and you can make a lot with a 20-foot length. At this point, I'm making larger pipe sections that the 1x1 will slide inside, and that's so that I can make adjustability to how thick the saw cuts when it's cutting a slab. So I'm just cutting these to length, and now I'm cutting 2 rail sections that are going to slide within that. And again, just deburring everything. This is a LB1000. It's a great grinder. It's done everything I've needed to, and it used a 2x72 belt. So at this point, I'm just checking everything out, making sure everything is nice and flat, and marking my centers and marking what side I want to be the top. So these guide posts are going to be welded to the side, and like I said, the 1x1 slides within that. So with those welded to the side, it gives you adjustability on that deck to move the deck up and down. And this is a pretty important weld because the bar relies on it to ride straight. So these I had to line up, really make sure that they were nice and square. Everything that you weld, you should make sure it's nice and square. That's super important, but this is extra critical on this application. So I'm just welding everything with nice full seams to make sure that it stays nice and rigid. So at this point, I'm cutting down these pieces. The chunks of steel that I had were 18 inches long, so I actually wound up making them longer than the 8 inches that I had originally sketched out. I made them 9.5, and that just gave me a little bit extra room on either side of the bar when I put the bolts through it. And I'm just cutting these all the length. All 4 of them are going to be the same size, and then each one of them is going to get a little spacer block welded to it that keeps it off the bar. And these I got left over from a 4-post lift installation job that I did, and they were covered in rust, so I just cleaned them up. And now I'm just positioning everything and tack welding it in place. And then you'll see that from the heat of those little welds, they shifted, and I had to bang one back in place, and then I just decided I should clamp everything. And gave nice full beads on the side. These are really just spacers. They're not structural. They're not going to move, but I just wanted them welded nice because it would also add some rigidity to that 1/4 inch slab. Now I'm just drilling some holes. I'm using 3/8 hardware. I wanted to use 1/2 inch, but I just couldn't get any locally, so the 3/8 is going to have to do. This is the smaller of the two big bars that I have. I have a 60-inch bar as well that I want to make a separate milling bar for, and that I'll probably just use all 1/2 inch. This part is important. You have to match your two brackets. So after I made my first bracket, I transferred it, upside down onto the next bracket and made sure that the holes lined up. So you'll see that I marked that with a letter A, and then I did the opposite for the other two brackets so that when I put them together, I knew the holes were going to line up and everything was going to stay like nice and square. And again, now I'm just lining everything up. This is going to be the rail that slides inside that tube. And basically the saw bar is going to ride with this and the next bracket, and they're going to ride within those two tubes. And these are also pretty important welds. They have to be nice and square. I will say I noticed on mine, one of them is a little out, and it twisted my bar a little bit. It didn't twist it permanently, but I noticed when we were milling through the log, it was a little bit twisted and had a little bow in it. So something I want to try and correct with some shims. And now you'll see the basic assembly of it. That slides up and down, and that's how you adjust your height. And at this point I decided I wanted a crossbar, but I would do that after I cut these bolts in. So these are 3/8 inch nuts. They are zinc plated. You shouldn't weld zinc plated metal. You should grind the zinc plating off, or you can get weldable nuts from McMaster-Carr. I welded these because I have a fume extractor running and I have a little fan pushing the air away. If you're going to ever weld zinc, you just shouldn't weld zinc without grinding it off. But if you ever have to, try and do it outside. It's toxic. It'll hurt you. It'll kill you and make you sick. So anyway, I welded these 3/8 inch nuts on there, and then you can see by tightening up those bolts, it locks the bar in place. Eventually, these will dent the sliding bar if you make them super tight, but once I get my sizes down, I want to just drill holes and just put a pin in there. This crossbar is really just something to help push the bar along when you're using it, and it's a nice place to put your hand. Kind of feels like you're farther away from the chain, and when you're running a 36-inch bar on these big saws, it's intimidating to be near that spinning chain, so it's nice to have a bar a little further away. You'll notice the sliding posts are super long. They're way longer than they had to be. I just wasn't sure how long to make them because I didn't know how big of a slab I'd want to cut. So I made them 24 inches. Again, the material's cheap, so it wasn't a big deal. And now I'm just bolting everything up and seeing how it works. I have exactly the functionality that I'm looking for here, so I'm excited to give it a shot. And the first thing I'm going to try it on is an oak log. I've had these logs for a number of years. They're white oak. They were felled locally, and they've just been sitting around. The first thing I have to do is attach a flat plate to the top so that the bar has something to ride on for this first cut. So the first cut we did, it was basically a failure. The chain was dull, and the saw kept bogging down, and then we ran out of gas. But I made it through this first cut and resharpened the chain and tuned the saw up. So the bar works. We wound up having to finish off the end with a smaller saw just to get this first layer off. But once that was off, tuned up the saw and went for the second one.
That's not worms, that's metal.
Nice. saw we're running here is a Homelite 1130G. It's a 100cc saw with a gear drive that reduces the RPMs of the sprocket driving the chain, and it has a huge amount of torque which lets you run a big bar on it. Alright, so we got one slab. Took 7 minutes to get through that slab with possibly the dullest chain imaginable. Basically just made sawdust and no chips, but it's not bad. There's all this metal that was embedded in the tree that we had to cut through both times, and a nice big larva. Oh, that's a gross one.
He's a biter.
Yeah, he's got teeth.
He just bit my wedge. Come on, little guy.
I'm trying to set him free. So we had to cut through this big steel, probably a clothesline. But it turned the wood a nice blue color, which probably will stay in it and make like a cool highlight when we sand this out. Now we just got to get the drum sander running and clean it up. Thanks for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos like this, and to see a behind the scenes look at what goes on in the shop, follow at Make Everything Shop on Instagram. Thanks.